I am sitting with a man with multiple scholarships. So where do you see yourself in the future?
I'm always considering, whether I should pursue my master's or PhD immediately. How can I make a positive difference in my community?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I understand the TD scholarship, you would have to be maintaining a certain grade point average to be able to retain that scholarship.
What I would say if other young people are watching is, even if your grades aren't perfect, there is still room for other things. When it comes to scholarships, I think apply very broadly.
How am I gonna get scholarship? How am I gonna get to Waterloo and all these fantastic universities?
It's hard. Sometimes it's a journey that it seems like you're alone, but what I really recommend is seek out other people to carry you along the journey, whether it's your parents or other people that are trying to go down the same path as you. Having that sense of community, I think is really, really important and helpful to help you stay on the path that you want to go down on.
Hello. First, I want to thank you for tuning in to listening and watch this podcast. I'm particularly happy for this great privilege and honor. It means a lot to me. By tuning in to listen and watch this podcast, you have supported me greatly to live out my dreams of creating a platform where people can learn and ultimately help our younger ones to aspire to be great in the future. I'm making a promise to you that I will continue to create content that will interest you and content that will grow our community. It would be greatly appreciated if you can hit the subscribe button. Together, we can achieve this. This is the Chronicles of a Professional with Emmanuel Ohago. Thank you. Mr. Chinemerem, I want to start by letting you tell me who you are.
Yeah, that's a long story. I guess I could say back in 2003 and start talking from there. But in the short form, my name is Chinemerem. I'm a computer engineering student at the University of Waterloo. In my free time, I like to swim, jog, all of that. And yeah, I think one of the main reasons you're talking to me is because I'm a recipient of the TD Scholarship for Community Leadership, among some other awards. And I'm most importantly happy to be here today.
Thank you. Recently, you made your community proud. You made your family proud. You made me proud. And you are a source of inspiration to a lot of younger ones looking up to you. Like you mentioned earlier, you won the TD scholarship. It's not something that is common. There are a lot of hard work and commitment. But I would like you to tell me, what is it all about? What's this scholarship all about? And what are those challenges and everything around it?
Yeah, so in particular, the TD scholarship is a 4-year-long scholarship for university students. I think it's valued around 70,000 Canadian dollars over those 4 years. And on average, there are around 3,000 applicants, and they choose 20 students from around Canada to receive the award. The TD scholarship is based on community leadership. So what that means is the kind of impact you've had throughout high school or beforehand in your direct community. And I've won some other awards which are more focused on the academics, but TD is focused mainly on how you've impacted your community positively.
Okay, so, to maybe a younger person listening to you, would you like to share some of those challenges or the strategy? So first of all, we want to look at the strategy you applied, that made you to be successful, and the challenges as well, just on a very high level. So, the younger ones listening will be able to learn.
For sure. So it comes down to how can I make a positive difference in my community? And there's a million ways to do that. So you need to find something that's close to you, an issue that you care deeply about, and try to solve that in a meaningful way. So for me, it was men's mental health. A friend of mine passed away, and I thought, okay, how can I, have a space for guys to open up about their emotions? So I started something in my local high school and spread it. And for you, it might be, activism, or it might be, a coding club, whichever kind of aspect that you're deeply passionate about. Instead of just having that be a you thing, think about how you can bring that to other people. It can be starting a club, having different events that you run, just a way to give back to your community.
Yeah. So what would you say was your greatest challenge, in your road to winning the scholarship?
Right. One challenge I faced was obviously the writing of all the documents that you have to put together. And one way that I kind of reframed that in my head, because a lot of these scholarships, they seem daunting. They require referrals from different teachers to approach. And the way I see it, even if you don't win, I think it's still very important to apply, because just think about the amount of time. Even if you put 10, 15, 20 hours into the application, first of all, you've already put in the time and effort, ideally, throughout your high school or beforehand, to have put you in a place to qualify for these scholarships. And then for the amount of money, even if you don't win, okay, you can waste 20 hours any day. However, if you do win, it can really be life-changing and significant in your university career.
So basically, it's a combination of choosing anything that you would like to do for your community, as well as, going through the applications and making sure that everything is okay.
Perfect.
Was there a kind of like a written exams, that the candidates would have to go through and all of those things?
Yeah, so there were a few stages. There was like the written application, and then you also have in-person interviews. So you need to be able to speak well and be, fairly confident with what you say. Because one of the hardest parts that a lot of people face is being able to sell yourself. Even if you do have the skills, being able to communicate effectively and convince others about your own impact is really, really important and often overlooked. So how I, went about that is practice. So going to teachers, finding different places to practice, speaking and interviewing. I think it's a really important and underrated skill.
Excellent. So now we're talking about the success piece. I know sometimes the context in which we're raised would have a lot of impact on who we become in the future. Would you like to share with me what your growing up was like? How did that help you in all of these things?
For sure. I'm the youngest of 5, baby boy, and I have 2 lovely parents. And I think having them as kind of a guiding light in my life has been very, very impactful. My father is in the Knights of Columbus, my mother is in the CWL, and they're both very, very involved in the community. In any way that they can give back, they're always, working very hard, and seeing that from a young age really is impactful. Seeing those positive role models, whether they're your parents or they're other members of the community, I think is really, really important. And then not only seeing that, but thinking about how can I replicate that with my own interests and things that I can focus on. I think for a lot of other young people, that's something that maybe they aren't doing as much, but is incredibly important.
So it was basically your parents gave you that full support,
Absolutely,
exposed you to community volunteering, and that kind of helped you to, sort of learn 1 or 2 things that helped in, your success story related to the TD scholarship.
Right.
That's interesting to know. So in all of these achievements, looking back, all the volunteering, everything, studying, and I know it's not without some academic, pursuit and commitment and all of those things. How do you feel today?
It's a very big question. I feel like me. I'm not a different guy, obviously. It's great hearing all these words of accolades, and I really appreciate it. But I haven't changed. I'm still Chinemerem. Yeah.
Cool. So, what's kind of next for you? I know you made mention of University of Waterloo.
Right.
So you obviously in University of Waterloo. Tell me about your admission process. Your current level. Everything around your success, and then we'll come to what the future holds for
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, so the University of Waterloo, notoriously or not, it's a pretty competitive program to get
Yeah.
into. So coming in, it was very helpful. I had a lot of volunteer experience. My grades were pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I worked very hard in high school in order to set me up for success at the University of Waterloo. And so the admission process is once again being able to sell yourself. How can you write about your past experiences in a way that really communicates all that you've done? And hopefully you've also put in the work to set yourself up for success in terms of grades and other extracurriculars. And then ideally, God is in your favor and everything works out as he was in mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know that it's actually very competitive. What's your discipline area?
I'm focusing on computer engineering.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. So what was the I'm just trying, just for younger ones listening, what was the acceptable mark to get into that department as at the time you got in?
When I applied, I think the cutoff is 85, but the admission average is 92, I believe. So
Interesting.
if you're not above that, it can be more difficult, and you would ideally have other things to balance your skills. So it's one of the more competitive programs at Waterloo.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I understand the TD scholarship, you would have to be maintaining a certain, grade point average to be able to retain that scholarship. Tell me about, all the challenges around this. And
yeah, so the TD, they do have a minimum. I don't think it's that high. I think it's maybe 70. So that one is more for a lot of other students.
Okay.
Some of the other scholarships I won, like I won the Loran Provincial Scholarship and the BMO Leader of Tomorrow Scholarship. Those ones have higher admission cutoffs. So what I would say if other young people are watching is, even if your grades aren't perfect, there is still room, for other things. When it comes to scholarships, I think apply very broadly. I wasn't too picky. If there are any ways that, I can help out my parents to not have to pay for university, of course I'm going to do that. So find those ways that you can specialize. There's scholarships specific to sports or, any interests you have. But academic scholarships, I think they're very helpful. And if you have the grades, it's almost a surefire way to get free money for university.
Talk me through the other, I know you made mention of a couple of other scholarships outside the TD one,
Right.
which is interesting. So I am sitting with a man with multiple scholarships.
Right.
I think that's going to be... So tell me about those other scholarships outside TD and give me a summary of how...
Yeah, so TD was the main big one. The BMO Leader of Tomorrow Scholarship, I think that one's around 16,000. And then the Loran Provincial, the Loran has different stages. So I think that was around 5,000. So there's different things that added up. And altogether, it was definitely helpful to not have to pay as much for university.
So right now you have how many scholarships?
In total, if you include everything, maybe 6.
Oh, but my goodness.
Yeah, life is good.
You have 6 scholarships.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's a Guinness Book of Record. I'm talking to Guinness. Here is a guy, a Nigerian-born Canadian who has 6 scholarships. That's outstanding. I mean, I'm so proud of you, and it's very inspirational. And I'm sure a lot of younger ones listening to you would really get inspired. Having someone with 6 scholarships at the same time, that's fantastic. So talk to me about your program, computer engineering. What are you thinking about in the future? Right. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so the world is my oyster. I'm in my final year of my degree, and the unique thing about Waterloo is you get to work while going to school. So this is also helpful with paying off school. So in total, you have 6 internships. I've completed 4. My most recent was at a company called Bloomberg. They do financial analytics, and they make news. You might have read Bloomberg News in the past. So that was in New York. My next one is at Google, and then the one after that's at NVIDIA. So
was that kind of co-op
yes,
or
exactly,
internship?
co-op.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We use them interchangeably, but yeah, just 4-month co-op programs that you can go to. So.
Okay, how does the co-op thing work, or the internship? So every computer engineering, University of Waterloo, at the end of every term is a co-op?
Almost.
Like
yeah.
how?
So in total, you still need, school is 4 years, 4.666 years, or 4 years and 2/3.
Yeah.
And between school semesters, you're either at school or you're working. At Waterloo, there's no summers off, so you're always working for those 5 years. Work is your vacation. So maybe you do 1 semester of school and then 1 semester of work, or sometimes 2 semesters of school, then 1 semester of work. But it's a great opportunity because ideally you get to travel the world. You can go to different places for your internships. You get to pay off your school fees, and it sounds like I'm having an ad for the university, but it's really just a great experience.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate to be in the position that I'm in.
Interesting. Is it something, I know you probably, there's no doubt you would be regularly on Dean's Honors list in recognition for the pursuit of academic excellence.
Right.
In terms of the internship and is it driven by how well you do? Because you mentioned blue chip companies, fantastic companies that anybody would like to be in.
Yes. The thing is, you have to be multifaceted if you want to be successful, both academically and in the job sphere. So with jobs, it's based off of other projects that you do on the side. It's based off of past job experience, obviously. And, you need to not only be focusing on school, but be focusing everywhere. So they want someone that's involved in their community, and they want someone that's also skilled in the skills they're looking for. So most of my jobs are software engineering. So you need to be pretty proficient at coding and have different ways that you've showed that in the past.
Interesting. So where do you see yourself in the future?
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking myself. So I've also done some research opportunities through the University of Waterloo, and those have been some great experiences. So I'm always considering, whether I should pursue my master's or PhD immediately, or sometimes I have, with some of my past internships, there are also opportunities to get your master's paid by the company. So my past 2 internships, they would pay for your master's. So that's something I'm definitely considering. And then also at Waterloo, there's a very big startup culture. So especially when you're young, I think that's the time, not many
distractions,
distractions, you can, and I still have those opportunities remaining for me afterwards, and they'll still be there, but my head is hot with different ideas that I'm always trying out. So if one of those things takes off, that will be my path for the next few years.
Interesting. So just before I get to my next question, just to piggyback on my previous question, does school help in any way in terms of the co-op placement?
It depends on the job. Some jobs care somewhat about your grades, but a lot of jobs at these big companies, they care only about how well you've done the programming stuff, which can be correlated with schoolwork and putting in the effort, but not always. So you need to be able to do both.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm going to say Musa, Biola, and Uche are listening to you.
Wow.
And they are thinking, they're probably in a high school now, thinking, oh, how am I going to get scholarship? How am I going to get to Waterloo and all these fantastic universities? What message do you have for them?
It's hard. And sometimes it's a journey that it seems like you're alone. But what I really recommend is seek out other people to carry you along the journey, whether it's your parents or other people that are trying to go down the same path as you. Having that sense of community, I think is really, really important and helpful to help you stay on the path that you want to go down on. So if you're trying to be good with school, find other people that are focused in that area and, make friends and keep each other accountable for the success that you want to achieve.
So where you are today, growing up, were you thinking, was there a time when you were growing up that you were looking at, okay, this is where I want to be, and this is how far I would like to go, all these achievements? Was there a time growing up that you kind of made that connection, or it's something that just came as you were growing up and, going through those challenges and excelling and all of those things?
Yeah, I think more of the latter. So as I meet people that I admire and are doing the things that I think I want to be doing, I keep in mind how they've done what they've done and how I can emulate their own successes. So I always have my eye out. I didn't have some predestined plan like 30 years ago, but I'm always changing as time goes on and seeing where exactly I want to go.
Interesting. When it comes to computer engineering, I know you made mention of software. I do know that software engineering is very broad.
Right.
Which area of that is your focus?
Yeah. So the different... I'll answer this question first by going around. With Waterloo, the beautiful thing about the co-ops, or what I enjoy about the co-ops, is it lets you try different things.
Yeah.
So for instance, my first internship was less software and it was more firmware, which is in between software and hardware, and also testing. And then, I've gotten to try, my most recent internship was mostly focused on machine learning and natural language processing. My upcoming one will be also in that similar vein. And then the one after will be more cloud computing and other things. So I get to dibble and dabble, and then after I can decide exactly where I want to go.
Excellent. As we wrap up, is there anything about the scholarship steps, that you would like to share for viewers listening?
Yeah, I think one thing I did that greatly helped that I want to reemphasize is the idea of practice. I think most things in life, if you do them and you practice, you can almost always get better at it. I'm not really of a mindset that, certain people are predestined for it. No, I think you can really work hard and get to where you want to be. So for instance, with even the interviewing with the scholars, I went up to all of my teachers. I asked them, give me questions as if you were them. And the great thing about that is you get different perspectives, different kind of questions that people can ask. When it came to the writing, obviously I'm not perfect right out of the gate, so I asked people for their feedback. Practicing and iterating, I think, is the most important skill to have in life, because obviously you're not going to do things the first time around. So being able to be resilient and to keep trying, I think, is incredibly important.
Excellent. In the Chronicles of a Professional, we have a game that we'll play.
I'm excited.
I hope you're ready for that game.
I was born ready.
Okay, so without getting to the weeds, just before we get to the game, without getting to the weeds, I know you've really talked so much about the scholarship, what you did, the community volunteering and academic performance, writing and being persistent, not giving up, and all of those things. What would you say, just on a very high level, are the tips for interviewing for scholarships?
Oh, for interviewing. Having the right kind of energy. So to meet your interviewer where they're at. When I move my hands, being able to communicate, I think, is really important. And then knowing yourself and what you've done. So often, if you haven't practiced, or if you at least don't look back at your story, you don't know which narrative to communicate to the interviewer. And then I think it's also important to maybe do some research if possible. Sometimes you can nib something about the interviewer where you can connect, and that just makes things a lot easier. Being well prepared and well researched, I think, can really set you apart.
Okay, so just so the scholarships, TD, BMO,
also won
Louise
Loran, the Nortel scholars, the presidential scholarship. And I won one with my high school. I forgot the name, but yeah.
So that's gonna be the caption. 6 scholarships.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard this. This is fantastic. Okay, so I think on these notes we will get to the game.
Okay.
We're still gonna have a couple of questions as we go through. So I will explain the rule of the game first.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Born ready.
So we have these 3 cups. So this is the ball. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna give you this ball. You're gonna roll. If you hit any of the cups, they each contain a question in there. Any one you hit, you answer the question in the cup. Are you ready?
Yes.
So you have 3 trials.
Okay.
And
I should only need one, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak too soon, though.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Well, I can't expect anything less from a man who has 6 scholarships. Okay, so the first question here, Chinemerem, is what do you think of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that's a very big question, and it's very popular right now. I need to be careful with my words before the AI from the future comes out.
I know.
Yeah. I think artificial intelligence is like every other tool we've had in the past, in the sense that it can both be used positively and negatively. When the automobile comes out and we no longer use the horse and buggy, people are put out of jobs, and we need to be careful about making sure that we take care of people. However, obviously there's great technological advancement. And I also feel like AI in some ways is like electricity, in the sense that in the past, maybe we didn't see its importance, but nowadays it's running everything in our lives. And it's really important to empower people with the knowledge about what it is and how they can use it. Because one more analogy, it's a bit like reading, because in the past, only like the scribes and the priests knew how we're literate. But now, obviously, everybody can hopefully read, and we see it as a skill that everybody needs to have. So that literacy, that's like electricity that's powering our lives. I think it's important to pay attention to, and it can be used positively and negatively, like
Absolutely.
most other tools. But we need to be very conscious about it.
Absolutely. Okay. So, who is your role model?
These are good questions. I mentioned my parents. That's definitely up there. Another scholar, his name is Mesna. He's the one that taught me a lot about scholarships. I've looked up to him and all the things he's doing. Yeah, I'd say those are two groups of people that I always think back to.
So Mesna, if you're
You're
listening,
watching, remember,
shout out to you. Thank you for spending time and making him a great guy.
Thank you.
Okay, so besides Canada and Nigeria, where would you like to visit?
Oh, I actually just came back from visiting a lot of countries in Asia, so that was good. So I checked most of those off my list. One place I didn't go, where can I still go? I want to go somewhere in Africa, maybe Ghana. I haven't been there in a long time, so yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite Nigerian food?
I think the typical answer is maybe jollof, but I like egusi soup. Egusi soup is good. Maybe some gari and egusi soup.
Gari and egusi soup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a good answer?
It's a fantastic. It is Gari and egusi soup. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your favorite Igbo language word?
Igbo language word. Biko.
And what does that mean?
Means please.
Good. Okay. They just sent this to be sure
good.
that.
Of course.
Okay. And the final question. if there is one thing you have the power to change in this world, what would that be?
Wow. I think maybe world hunger. I don't think people should be going hungry to sleep. I don't think that's right.
That's fantastic. So on this note, Mr. Chinemerem Chigbo, I would like to thank you very much for coming around on the Chronicles of a Professional. We really appreciate. And I'm pretty sure that in the future, we would like to have you as our guest as you advance in your career, and we wish you all the best.